Good morning, America. How are ya? Monday morning rail will be 500 miles before the day is gone. I'm the train they call the City of New Orleans. Hi, I'm Denny Jelsma, and I'm at the world famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida, where the sun always shines and running trains is always a pleasure and peace and harmony and climate controlled atmosphere. This morning is Monday morning, and you know what we do on Monday morning? We always do show and tell. And today we have a very, very, very exciting show, and it's going to start in just a moment. But show and tell is always brought to you by Jelsma Graphics, the people that make all the railroad embroidered clothing that you see at train shows all over the United States, and you have for the last 38 years. We want to thank all the people that go to our website. It's just jelsma.com and shop for our products, and we really appreciate that. You know, this past weekend we went to the DeLand train show in DeLand, Florida, and it was their January show. And Greg Turn, our cameraman, and you've seen him do several segments. He had tables down there, and Jelsma Graphics had tables. We just want to thank all the people that came up and said, hey, we watched the show, and we see you every week, and we really enjoy it. And Greg was just overwhelmed with the people that came by. He even was asked that if he could have glossy photographs made of himself and the whole crew of the Monday morning show and tell, and so he's going to provide that so that when he's at shows he could sign that. And so we try to accommodate all of our requests from the viewers, and he wants to say thank you for all the people that stopped by, wanted autographs, wanted pictures with him. So, and I'm the same way. I was just overwhelmed. We're going to be in 2 weeks. We're going to be at the best train show, in my opinion, in the whole United States, and that is the Springfield, Massachusetts, the Big E, the Amherst train show. We're going to be at that show, and Greg will be there, and also Richard that you see, he's going to be there. He'll take autographs. Greg will. Now, one of the things when you sign Greg's, just make sure you call him number 2, because that's his name. And we'll be giving out the What's Neat hats. If you come up and say, hey, what's neat? And the Ken Patterson show, and this next episode or so, you'll see Jelsma Graphics featured on the What's Neat. And if you ask for a hat, we'll give you an absolute free hat on the What's Neat show at the January show in Springfield, Massachusetts, or West Springfield at the Big E. So we're gonna see you there. Now, with all that said, show and tell is going to start right now. Well, Monday morning show and tell starts right now, and this is a very exciting show that we're going to have today, because it's going to be talking about one of my favorite railroads, and that is the Illinois Central. You know, growing up in the cornfields of Iowa, we had a lot of trains, and one of the trains that crossed Iowa was the Hawkeye, and it was the Illinois Central's Western Division section. And it went from Chicago to Sioux City. It was over 500 miles. It was a night train. It was a gorgeous train, and it lasted all the way up into Amtrak. But anyhow, the train we're going to talk about is the City of Miami. Now, if you were born and raised in Miami, you would say Miami. And so you could always tell a local, he'll say it's Miami. But anyhow, the City of Miami was a pride and joy of the Illinois Central for many years. The flagship train for Illinois Central was actually the Panama Limited. And I kind of question that because my favorite train of the Illinois Central naturally was the Hawkeye, but the next was the City of Miami. And what I have here is two cars. This here is the Panama Limited observation car Gulfport. And the Pan Am was an all Pullman extra fare train. And then here is the Bamboo Grove of the Illinois Central, City of Miami. And the two observation cars, altogether different type of cars. The City of Miami started out having this green and orange with a red stripe. It was just absolutely gorgeous. You got to remember back when they introduced this in 1940, everything was just drab colors for trains, and many of them were dirty. Well, the City of Miami and the Panama Limited was really gorgeous, clean trains, and the Illinois Central kept their trains really clean. And so I think that the City of Miami was their flagship train, and Rodney Butcher is going to be joining me here in this interview to talk about the City of Miami, and that happens to be his favorite train. So both of us are really excited about the City of Miami. He used to watch it come through Jacksonville when he was a kid, see the tinted windows, and still talks about it today, about the City of Miami. And so when you think about the Illinois Central is a very diverse railroad. I mean, it went north and south from Chicago all the way down to New Orleans, and then it went all the way down here into Florida. And so, and then it went all the way to Sioux City, Iowa in the west. So they actually had three sections of the Illinois Central. Was the west, the north-south corridor, and then the southeast corridor. But the City of Miami was really a luxurious train, and they started out in 1940 with basically all coach, but they made it this beautiful color that you see right here. And this here is, these are brass cars. This is Bamboo Grove, and this car actually exists. It's down in the Daytona area at a condominium, and they have it as a kind of a recreation, and our club went down on a visit there. And then Palm Garden was the dining car, and then they went to the chocolate brown, and so here's a coach, and then later on they added a dome. And you say, well, hey, where did they get the dome? They always leased their cars from the Northern Pacific, and they repainted it. And the Illinois Central was really stickler, and they, in the wintertime, the domes weren't that used, and so Illinois Central would lease them. And here is a dome sleeper, and there. But you had a choice, as in the traveling public. When you lived in the Midwest, if you lived in St. Louis, or you lived in Chicago, in the Chicago area, or even in Indiana and Ohio, if you wanted to come to Florida, you had a choice. And it was very competitive to get to Florida. And you know, it's January and it's cold, and right now they got -0. I talked to my sister in the cornfields of Iowa yesterday, and it was -17 below. And so they want to get on these trains back then, and the 40s and the 50s, and they wanted to come to sunny Florida. And so they had a choice, and it was very competitive. And so real quickly you could ride the Illinois Central, the City of Miami, or you could take quite a few different trains. There's probably 5 or 6 trains that came south, but the Illinois Central's probably one of their better competitors was the Southern train. and it was called the New Royal Palm. And they had a car that you could get on in St. Louis, and then it went to Cincinnati, and connected with this train that came out of Detroit. And so no matter what city you lived on, many of these trains had cars that you just got on, and then they brought it down to Cincinnati and you got on. And the Illinois Central, this was their biggest competitor, was the Southern's New Royal Palm. And it was a very, very luxurious train, and their trading partner was the New York Central, and you've seen me do videos on this before. But back to this city of Miami, it really evolved. And Rodney, why don't you real quickly kind of maybe give us a quick overview of how the train kind of evolved from the 1940s to let's say into the 50s.
Hi, Denny, the city joined the Dixie, Flagler, and the South Wind in a market where they alternated operation. And after the war, they added sleeping cars to these trains. Winter season, the Illinois Central and the other railroads competed tri-weekly, and they
really lightweight cars. The city of Miami was really the preferred way to get down here, because you could go on the Dixie Flagler, you could go on the Southwind. The Pennsy had a train, and it was in combination with the LNN and Atlantic Coast Line. And it was also popular, but not as popular as the city of Miami. And so the city of Miami was an upscale train, just like the Panama Limited, extra fares, and it really evolved into a great train. And that was the way to ride to Florida. If you lived in St. Louis, or you lived in Chicago, or anywhere in Illinois, and you're going to come down to the Midwest, that's how you drove. And if you lived in Iowa, you hopped on the Hawkeye. You went to Chicago, changed trains, and you hopped on the city of Miami. And so, but once again here, just to show you the difference between the two observation cars, I personally think that this is just this is my favorite, and I love that particular color scheme, the Palm Garden. Later on, the city of Miami, because it was so popular, they had a twin diner. They had to have twin diners, and they made this into a kind of a lounge car. Here's a typical coach, and I kind of threw this in. This is probably came off the Hawkeye, and they ran it all the way down to Miami. And so, and then in the 50s, they leased the domes from the Northern Pacific, and every season they painted them. They leased sleeping cars, and it was very popular. You would see a coach periodically. And then what we are running here today on our layout is, Rodney, what would you say this era of the train we're running,
1950.
1950, where they it's in the chocolate and orange, and most of these cars are all scratch built, and so you can just see this is what we have for the and here is the bamboo grove and the chocolate. And that's the city of Miami, as the Miamians would say. And that is our show and tell today. Make sure that you hit the like and you subscribe to our channel on YouTube, on Facebook, hit like. And we sincerely appreciate you watching us week after week. We have thousands of people that follow us, and we really appreciate it. And all of the members of the Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum, we really appreciate it. And once again, when we go to shows, we really appreciate your comments and you asking us for photographs and autographs. And as I said, number 2, Greg, he will be having some 8x10 glossies that he could sign for you, and hopefully he'll have that at Amherst. If he won't, he'll have it maybe at the Jacksonville show. So that's the way it is at the world famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida, where the sun always shines and running trains is an absolute pleasure and comfort and climate controlled atmosphere.